Welcome to back my channel Coin Worth Million. This channel is a special place where every video brings you new knowledge, entertainment, and exciting experiences. Here Coins Worth you will find informative content, engaging stories, and everything that sparks your curiosity. Our goal is to make every moment enjoyable, help you learn something new, and be a part of this growing family. So join us and start this wonderful journey today. The 1983 United States of America quarter dollar, part of the long-running George Washington quarter series, stands as a coin that is far more significant than its appearance might suggest, both historically and numismatically. Although it was minted in large numbers, the year 1983 occupies a special position in the timeline of U.S. coinage because of factors involving the American economy of the early 1980s, the operational conditions of the U.S. Mint, the coin shortage of the late 1970s and early 1980s, and later collector demand driven by the absence of government-issued mint sets. The 1983 quarter is part of the series first issued in 1932, a year chosen to commemorate the 200th birthday bicentennial of George Washington, the first President of the United States. The design, featuring Washington's portrait on the obverse, was created by John Flanagan, a sculptor whose work became one of the most recognizable motifs on U.S. circulating coinage. As with other coins of the era, the 1983 quarter was produced under conditions that emphasized durability and efficiency over artistic refinement due to increased demand for circulating coins. In terms of composition, the 1983 quarter belongs to the clad coinage era, which began in 1965 after the United States removed silver from most circulation coins due to rising silver prices and supply challenges. Therefore, the 1983 quarter is made of a copper-nickel clad composition consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel on the outer layers, bonded to a pure copper core. This composition gives the coin its characteristic silver-gray luster while also providing durability required for heavy circulation. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a reeded edge, a leftover feature from the silver era originally intended to combat coin clipping. Accompanied by inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year 1983, while the mint mark, either P for Philadelphia or D for Denver, appears behind Washington's ponytail. The reverse features the classic heraldic eagle design, a bold eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and readiness, while the olive branches beneath represent the United States' desire for peace. Surrounding the design are inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. From a historical perspective, the early 1980s were a period of financial turbulence and recovery in the United States. High inflation, recession, unemployment, and interest rates affected the economy from 1980 to 1982. As commercial activity began to recover, demand for circulating coins increased sharply. The U.S. Mint had to prioritize the production of circulation strikes, and this included the 1983 quarter. However, the U.S. Mint did not issue official uncirculated mint sets in 1982 or 1983, a decision that would enormously impact the rarity and desirability of high-grade quarters from those years. Without official mint sets, collectors had far fewer opportunities to obtain pristine, uncirculated examples directly from the mint. This means that most surviving 1983 quarters available today were recovered from circulation, often showing signs of wear, scratches, or bag marks. As a result, the 1983 quarter, especially in extremely high mint state grades, is significantly more difficult to obtain than earlier and later Washington quarters. Mintages for the 1983 quarter were relatively high, reflecting economic recovery. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 617 million pieces, while the Denver Mint produced over 561 million. Despite these large numbers, most were heavily circulated, which is why the coin may appear common in worn condition but surprisingly valuable in pristine condition. The absence of mint sets also makes 1983 quarters a topic of interest among collectors who focus on modern rarities. High-grade examples graded Mississippi 65, Mississippi 66, and especially Mississippi 67 by grading services such as PCGS or NGC can attract strong premiums. Mississippi 67 examples are scarce, and Mississippi 68 examples, when they exist, are extremely rare and expensive due to the technical difficulty of achieving such a flawless strike and surface condition on mass-produced clad coinage of the early 1980s. Among circulation coins, die varieties and errors from 1983 are also highly prized. Because the mint was under pressure to produce large numbers quickly, die deterioration, die cracks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, struck through errors, and incomplete cladding are not unusual. One of the most famous related coins from the era is the 1983 P. Washington quarter, Spitting Eagle, variety, caused by a die crack extending from the eagle's beak toward the rim, making the eagle appear to spit. While this specific variety is generally associated with the 1983 P quarter, its value fluctuates based on condition and collector interest. Beyond this, other errors, such as double dies, die chips, filled mint marks, and misaligned strikes, can significantly increase the value of a 1983 quarter when found in excellent condition. The economic context of the early 1980s also shaped the coin's circulation history. Inflation had weakened the purchasing power of earlier quarters, and many older silver quarters had already been removed from circulation by collectors and silver hoarders following the removal of silver in 1965. As a result, by 1983, the Washington quarter was one of the most commonly used coins in American commerce, especially in vending machines, arcades, laundromats, transportation meters, and payphones, industries that heavily relied on coinage before the rise of digital payments. The heavy usage contributed to the rapid wear of the 1983 quarter, again making high-grade survivors increasingly rare. Another unique aspect of the 1983 quarter is that it falls at the midpoint between two major design eras of the Washington quarter, the original 1932-1998 Eagle reverse design and the later 1999-2008 State Quarters program. Therefore, the 1983 quarter represents the traditional, iconic look of U.S. quarters prior to the 50-state redesign era. Collectors often include 1983 quarters in complete runs of the series, especially those focusing on business strikes from 1965 onward, the clad era where the 1982 and 1983 issues are considered key conditional rarities. Condition plays a vital role in the collectability of the 1983 quarter. Coins that have bright luster, sharp detail, and no major marks can command significant premiums. Meanwhile, circulated coins remain common and generally worth face value. Proof versions of 1983 quarters, however, were struck exclusively at the San Francisco Mint for inclusion in proof sets, not for regular circulation. These have a mirror-like finish and frosted devices, but because they were preserved in sets, they are common in high-grade and less valuable than high-grade circulation strikes. In the world of numismatic study, the 1983 quarter stands as an example of how mintage numbers alone do not determine rarity. Collector availability, condition scarcity, production quality, and historical context all influence demand. The absence of official mint sets in 1983 remains the single most important factor elevating the status of the 1983 quarter. This has made the coin a favorite among collectors who specialize in modern US-clad coinage, a field that has grown in popularity as collectors seek challenging high-quality examples of coins once thought to be too modern to be rare. Overall, the 1983 U.S. quarter dollar is a coin whose value lies not in precious metal content but in its place within the narrative of American coinage. It reflects the economic recovery of the early 1980s, changing minting policies, the challenges of mass production, and the evolving priorities of the U.S. Mint. While millions of pieces exist in circulation condition, collectors who appreciate historical nuance, modern minting dynamics, and condition rarity continue to elevate the 1983 quarter's status within the Washington Quarter series. For everyday Americans, it may have been just another coin in their pocket, but to numismatists, it is a fascinating issue that reveals how context, scarcity, and absence of preservation can transform a common coin into a modern rarity. Next coin. The 1966 United States of America quarter dollar, part of the iconic George Washington Quarter series, is one of the most historically significant coins of the post-World War II era, not because of precious metal content but because of the broader monetary transition taking place in the United States during the mid-1980s. This coin belongs to the first full generation of clad quarters, representing a monumental shift in American coinage history following the elimination of silver from circulating coins after 1964. To understand the full importance of the 1966 quarter, one must first consider the dramatic changes occurring in the U.S. economy, the turbulent silver market of the early 1960s, the public's reaction to the disappearance of silver coins, and the U.S. Mint's enormous challenge in producing billions of new coins under unprecedented pressure. Despite being a common coin in worn condition today, the 1966 quarter occupies a crucial place in numismatic study because it reflects the transition from traditional 90% silver coinage to modern base metal coinage that continues to circulate today. In 1965, responding to rising silver prices, widespread hoarding, and a national coin shortage, the United States government passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from the dime and quarter entirely. Previously, quarters consisted of 90% silver and 10% copper, but beginning in 1965, and continuing through 1966, the quarter was struck with a new copper-nickel-clad composition. The 1966 quarter consists of outer layers, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Inner core, pure copper. Total weight, 5.67 grams. Diameter, 24.26 millimeters. Edge, reeded. This composition created the distinct, sandwich, structure visible on the edge of modern quarters, with a copper-colored stripe between the two silvery nickel layers. The decision to remove silver was not just economic, it was necessary to maintain public confidence in U.S. currency, ensure stable supply for commerce, and reduce dependence on volatile global silver markets. The 1966 quarter was produced during the early phase of this historic shift, making it an essential reference point for understanding the evolution of U.S. circulating coinage. Design-wise, the 1966 quarter continued the classic John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, first chosen for the 1932 bicentennial. Flanagan's obverse design features Washington facing left, with inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1966 placed beneath his neck. One of the most notable features of 1965-1967 coins is the absence of mintmarks. Due to extreme shortages and public hoarding, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks from all coins in these 3 years to discourage collectors from saving specific mint varieties. As a result, even though the 1966 quarter was struck at multiple mint facilities, primarily Philadelphia, none of the coins bear a mint mark. This was done to ensure that every coin produced entered circulation quickly rather than being set aside by collectors. The reverse design, which had been used since 1932 and would continue until 1998, features the heraldic American eagle with wings spread proudly, perched on a bundle of arrows symbolizing defense and strength, while olive branches below the arrows represent peace. The inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar, complete the design. This reverse would remain untouched for decades until the 1999 launch of the state quarters program. The economic and social context of 1966 provides much of the deeper meaning behind this coin. The early to mid-1960s saw an explosion in vending machine use, parking meters, payphones, laundromats, arcade machines, and toll booths. These industries consumed millions of coins daily, creating constant demand. Meanwhile, the public, anticipating rising silver value, began hoarding older 90% silver coins. By 1966, silver quarters had virtually vanished from circulation. This left the U.S. Mint scrambling to produce enormous quantities of clad coins quickly. The mint operated around the clock, expanding production capacity and setting historical records for output. The 1966 quarter was minted in very high numbers, over 821 million pieces were produced, yet because most went immediately into circulation to address shortages, finding high-grade, pristine examples is surprisingly difficult today. Another unique aspect of the 1966 quarters era is that no official U.S. Mint sets were issued in their traditional form. Instead, the Mint introduced the one-time, Special Mint Set, SMS, for 1965, 1966, and 1967. These SMS sets contained specially prepared coins that were not quite proof and not quite business strike. The 1966 SMS quarter has sharper details, smoother surfaces, and more lustrous fields than regular circulation strikes. These SMS coins were produced only at the San Francisco facility, but again, no mint mark appears on them. Today, SMS quarters from 1966 are common in typical condition but incredibly valuable in ultra-high grades, especially SMS Cameo or SMS Deep Cameo examples, which display stronger frosting on the raised design and mirror-like fields. Because of the Mint's high-speed production and the heavy demand placed on coinage dies during the mid-1960s, the 1966 quarter is known for numerous minor varieties and errors, including die cracks, retained cud breaks, die polishing lines, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchettes, and struck-through debris errors. While most minor errors add only modest value, dramatic errors, such as 10% minus 60% off-center strikes, double strikes, or missing clad layer errors, can be very valuable. Missing clad layer errors, for example, reveal the copper core and create a distinctive golden-brown appearance on one side of the coin. These errors occurred more frequently during the rushed minting of the mid-1960s, making the 1966 quarter a fertile ground for error collectors. Despite its enormous mintage, the 1966 quarter's numismatic value is tied heavily to condition. Circulated examples are typically worth only face value. However, true mint state Mississippi 65 and above examples can be hard to find due to weak strikes, contact marks from high-speed minting, and the decades of circulation the coins endured. SMS examples graded SP67, SP68, and especially SP69 cameo or deep cameo are scarce and can command strong premiums in the collector market. Unlike silver quarters, which can often be worth significant melt value, clad quarters like the 1966 issue derive nearly all their value from collector premiums, rarity in top condition, and the historical significance of their transitional era. From a historical perspective, the 1966 quarter serves as a snapshot of American life during a period of enormous technological, social, and economic growth. It circulated during the Vietnam War era, the space race, the civil rights movement, and the accelerating development of modern consumer technology. Quarters played a major role in everyday American commerce, whether for a newspaper vending box, a bus fare, a payphone call, or a laundromat wash cycle. Because silver quarters had disappeared from circulation, the 1966 quarter became a part of the new financial reality that generations of Americans would grow up with: durable, attractive, but non-silver coinage designed for mass compatibility with automated machines. Collectors today often view the 1965-1967 clad transition coins as a distinct sub-series within the Washington quarter timeline. They represent resilience, adaptation, and modernization. For many numismatists, assembling a collection of high-grade circulation strikes, SMS strikes, and error varieties from 1966 offers an engaging challenge. The absence of mint marks, the unique special mint set production, and the historic context of the Coinage Act of 1965 all combine to make the 1966 quarter far more interesting than its common appearance suggests. While it may not contain silver, its importance in U.S. monetary history is undeniable. In summary, the 1966 United States quarter dollar is more than just a piece of circulating pocket change. It is a tangible expression of one of the most significant financial reforms in American history. It embodies the shifting economic conditions of the 1960s, the modernization of U.S. mint technology, and the evolution of public coinage preferences. Whether studied for its role in ending silver coinage, its unmatched minting volume under pressure, its SMS varieties, or its transitional significance, the 1966 quarter remains a cornerstone of modern American numismatics. For collectors, historians, and enthusiasts alike, the 1966 quarter offers a deep and fascinating story, a story of change, adaptation, and the enduring practicality of American coinage. The 1980 United States of America quarter dollar is part of the long-running George Washington quarter series, a foundational component of modern American coinage that bridges the era between traditional metals and the contemporary vending machine economy. While the 1980 quarter may appear common at first glance, its historical context, technical specifications, minting environment, economic backdrop, and collector significance reveal remarkable depth and educational insight into the evolving U.S. monetary system. Produced during a period of national economic turbulence, rising inflation, rapid technological expansion, and increasing reliance on coin-operated systems, the 1980 quarter stands as a representative of the late pre-statehood Washington quarters, minted before the radical redesigns beginning in 1999. Its story reflects the tension between mass production and quality, the mint's race to meet rising commercial demand, the influence of global metal prices, and the challenges of maintaining consistent coinage standards during a decade of rapid change. To understand the coin fully, one must first examine the design, inherited from the original 1932 Washington quarter created by John Flanagan. The obverse front features a left-facing portrait of George Washington, modeled on the bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdin. The inscriptions, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1980 accompany the portrait. The mintmark P, D, or S appears just behind Washington's ponytail, an important detail in the 1980 series, as the Philadelphia Mint had only recently adopted the P mint mark on certain denominations. The reverse back displays the American eagle with outstretched wings, perched atop a bundle of arrows symbolizing the nation's readiness to defend itself, supported by olive branches reflecting the desire for peace. Surrounding this iconic image are the inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. This eagle design had remained unchanged since 1932, reflecting an era when American coinage favored classical symbolism and national identity over periodic redesign. In terms of composition, the 1980 quarter is part of the copper-nickel clad generation that began in 1965 after the U.S. Mint removed silver from circulating coinage due to rising silver prices and severe shortages. These clad quarters consist of two outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to an inner core of pure copper. The total weight is 5.67 grams, the diameter is 24.26 millimeters, and the edge is reeded with alternating grooves. This durable composition was designed for heavy commercial use, particularly as coin-operated technology expanded during the 1970s and 1980s. Millions of 1980 quarters spent their lives in vending machines, arcade cabinets, payphones, laundromats, and parking meters, industries that depended heavily on quarters before the digital financial revolution. The economic environment of the early 1980s is essential to understanding the production and circulation of the 1980 quarter. The United States was experiencing high inflation, volatile interest rates, rising commodity prices, and an economy recovering from the stagflation crisis of the 1970s. Inflation weakened the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar, and the mint faced intense pressure to produce more coins to satisfy commercial demand. This environment pushed the mint toward high-speed, high-volume production, which often came at the cost of strike sharpness and surface quality. As a result, many 1980 quarters show weak strikes, subdued details, or numerous contact marks. These minting characteristics make high-grade, flawless examples interesting and sometimes challenging to locate for collectors. The 1980 quarter was struck at all three major U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia P, Denver D, San Francisco S. Proof only. Mintages were as follows: 1980 P, approximately 635 plus million; 1980 D, approximately 518 plus million; 1980 S proof, around 3.5 million. These massive numbers reflect the intense demand for quarters during the era. With hundreds of millions minted for everyday use, worn examples are extremely common today. However, pristine mint state MS examples, especially in grades MS 66 and above, are considerably harder to find due to the mint's high-speed production and the lack of collector attention during that era. The San Francisco Mint produced proof versions of the 1980 quarter, intended only for collectors. These coins display mirror-like fields and frosted devices, created using specially treated dies and planchettes. While typical proof examples are common, high-grade deep cameo (DCAM) specimens, marked by deep contrast between mirrored fields and frosted details, can be quite valuable, especially when free of hairlines or handling marks. Proofs were sold in annual proof sets and were not issued for circulation, meaning that any circulation found mint mark 1980 quarter is likely a damaged proof coin. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1980 quarter is the presence of various errors and die varieties, reflecting the high-speed conditions of the mint. Among the notable categories are clipped planchette errors, where a portion of the metal blank is missing; off-center strikes, which show part of the design shifted; double strikes, where the coin receives two impressions from the press; Die cracks and cuds, caused by aging or damaged dies. Filled mintmark errors, where debris caused the mintmark to appear faint or missing. Struck through errors, where foreign material came between the die and planchette. These errors, especially dramatic ones, can add significant value to a 1980 quarter. From a historical viewpoint, the 1980 quarter circulated during a period of major change in the U.S. economy. The country was shifting from industrial manufacturing dominance to an emerging service-based economy. Public transportation fares, arcade games, vending machines, toll roads, and telephone systems all relied heavily on quarters as the standard payment unit. The average American pocket in 1980 was likely to contain multiple quarters, making them one of the most frequently used coins. Because of this high usage, many 1980 quarters were worn down within only a few years, contributing to the scarcity of top-grade examples today. The 1980 quarter also represents one of the last generations of Washington quarters before the dramatic shift toward redesign with the 1999 launch of the State Quarters program, which reinvigorated public interest in coin collecting. For decades, from 1932 to 1998, the Washington quarter remained visually unchanged on the reverse. Thus, the 1980 quarter belongs to what collectors call the classic eagle reverse era. Due to this stable design period, subtle transitional changes in the late 1970s and early 1980s, such as die hub modifications, refinements in Washington's hair details, and small shifts in relief, are closely studied by variety specialists. Numismatically, the 1980 quarter is valued today not because of silver content, as it contains none, but due to its position in the broader narrative of American monetary policy. It reflects the long-term consequences of the Coinage Act of 1965, the pressure placed on the mint by the inflationary crisis of the late 1970s and early 1980s, and the increasing technological demands of new coin-operated systems. These combined influences created a coin that was mass-produced, heavily used, widely circulated, and often overlooked by collectors at the time, making pristine examples rare and desirable in the modern collecting community. For collectors, the 1980 quarter offers numerous points of interest: clad composition, high-speed production anomalies, the presence of Philadelphia's mintmark, which only began appearing on quarters in 1980, the quality-focused San Francisco proofs, and the economic pressures of the era. Building a full 1980 quarter set, featuring MS and proof examples, plus errors and varieties, provides a deeper understanding of how modern American coinage adapted to technological and economic change. In summary, the 1980 United States quarter dollar is far more than a simple everyday coin. It is a historical object shaped by inflation, metal shortages, modern industrial demands, and evolving minting technology. It represents a snapshot of American life in an era when coin-operated machines, public phone booths, and vending systems dominated small transactions. While common in circulation-worn condition, it stands as a valuable and fascinating coin for those who appreciate the intricate details behind U.S. monetary production. Its story is a testament to the transformation of American coinage and the resilience of the Washington quarter design during a time of national transition.